on by yourself.
Oh, the fan, I turned it on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. This is old Cal.
And this is not a spring chicken. Today we're going to talk about something really kind of scary, and that would be...
Them legalizing marijuana, because the fact that, okay, first of all, doesn't anybody realize that the medical marijuana is supposed to be because they need it as a stimulant to kill the pain that they're in?
Wait a minute, I thought it was a depressant.
It is a depressant, but basically it's a sedative is what it is, a sedative, but it actually can be the opposite direction too. It's a tremendous sedative because that if it's a sedative and you're taking a non-prescribed sedative, basically then why would you want to go to a doctor to get medicine for a sedative if you could basically legally get have to get to a doctor to get a sedative when you can just go grow 25 square foot of marijuana for yourself and basically
You wouldn't need to. You just grow the plant.
That's right. You grow the plants. It's a sedative. You want to draw here. You want to. I'm listening to the discussion last night. Well, it's no worse than driving under the influence of alcohol. But that right there is the explanation of why not to do it.
See, part of it is you're not supposed to be driving while you're under the influence of alcohol either.
That's right, and you know that's a really bad excuse. It's no worse than driving under the influence of alcohol. Alcohol is legal. Well, yeah, alcohol has been around since the dawn of man, folks. Marijuana hasn't.
Well, actually, I think part of the reason, is they've been talking about this in California for many, many years.
Yeah.
And I always thought that, they would legalize marijuana when they needed it for tax money.
Yeah, but basically, there's no basis for, okay, the law doesn't give any way to raise taxes on it. It will be done community by community, which means that marijuana is going to be out there after they pass it for God awful knows how long before any of the laws are passed. There's no, you know that while you can't smoke on a school grounds, you can use marijuana on a school ground?
Wait, well, hold on, because we'll get into that.
No, it's all part of the law stuff.
But, okay, for example, like alcohol, okay? You have to be 21 years old to buy alcohol. In some states it's 18, right?
Yeah.
Okay. What are on alcohol, let's see, you aren't supposed to probably do it around schools.
Not within 1,000 foot or 1,000 yards. I think it's 1,000 foot of a school yard.
Right, and then you have to show them ID.
You have to show them ID. But you don't need, basically kindergarten kids can walk into a school campus and smoke marijuana.
Why can they do that?
Because there's no law against it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, but there is a law against smoking.
No, there's a law against cigarettes.
Oh, which means you could do cigars, but
no,
you can't do cigarettes.
it's tobacco products. Marijuana is not a tobacco product.
Oh, it's a plant.
Is a plant that is not tobacco. It is a medicinal plant. Marijuana has always been used for two purposes. One is to give people sedative highs, and a second for medical reasons.
So wait a minute. So basically, unlike I was going to say marijuana, cigarettes, cigars, and alcohol, or illegal drugs, if it were legalized, a 5-year-old could do it.
That's right. It's illegal for a 5-year-old to do it now. If they legalize it, a 5-year-old could basically light up in the classroom. They couldn't stop him from doing it in the classroom. There's no law to prohibit.
Well, it also makes me think it's like I have to show ID to buy paint sometimes.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Thank you.
She has to show ID to get into the after parties we go to at events. So
let's see. You have to show ID to buy paint, but you don't have to show ID to use it.
You have to show ID to get glue.
You can use it. Oh, that's right. And even cough medicine sometimes too.
Yeah,
remember?
You can't get cough medicine without an ID.
And that's because they were using the cough medicine as an ingredient for what was it, methamphetamines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But don't worry. They said that there is a law if you have more than an ounce in your possession. But a kid can walk in, basically got this little 5-year-old walk in front of his schoolmates, lights up his little one lid of tobacco. And they said, well, you can't do that, Eric. And he says, the law says that I can get stoned any place I want to get stoned. And they said, well, no, Proposition 19 doesn't allow it. No, Proposition 19 in California has no law. It says it will be up to the communities.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and some communities don't give a damn. Yeah, Basically, you think they're going to tell people they can't do it in San Francisco or Berkeley or Oakland?
Yeah, it's true.
You think that in certain, we're talking communities,
Oh, how
talking
about Venice, California?
Venice, California. You think, okay, they have an anti-smoking thing on all the beaches, on most of the beaches in California. There's nothing that says you can't take a marijuana thing down on the beach and go puff it. Basically, a guy goes to jail if he smokes a cigarette on the beach, but the other guy basically can walk down the street with their marijuana, throw the stuff anywhere they want to throw it.
But, well, part of it is with marijuana, it smells differently than regular cigarettes. But from a distance, whether you're smoking a cigarette, remember, because you tried those electronic cigarettes.
Oh yeah, I got in trouble over electronic cigarette. I really did, because the cops said, well, you can't, basically it's a nicotine device, and basically nicotine is part of cigarettes, so therefore you cannot use it within 1,000 foot of a school. Well, I live within 1,000 foot of a school, which means everybody in the apartments are all in violation of the law.
Which means, yeah, if you smoke in your apartment, you are in violation, right?
Yeah, that's right. So they did order everybody in my apartment complex that they couldn't smoke on the complex anymore.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did warn them. Here you got all these people that are living in this apartment complex told that you can't do anything inside your apartments now because you're within 1,000 foot of a school. That's not how that was intended either.
It's
the rule of unintended consequences. But here's the great one. You have to remember that it's basically Democrats that have written Proposition 19.
This is Proposition 19 in the state of California.
And these are the same people that said, don't worry, we will fill in the rules for Obamacare after the law is passed. They have said that the communities will fill in the rules on taxation and how it will be enforced after Proposition 19 is passed, which means it's never going to get done. Never going to get done. You're going to spend years, and it will also spend years in litigation, because the Ninth Circuit basically doesn't think marijuana is a big deal. It's just going to be dumped off. We're looking at a decade before it gets to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court will simply say federal law trumps state law.
See, part of it is there's two sides. One side does not want marijuana at all. The other side does want. And I mean, this is, in most cases, there's two sides. But
it is totally ridiculous. Medical marijuana for people that have aches and pains. Well, they can give you prescription drugs for aches and pains. I mean, I'll tell you this. My father was an officer.
Prescription drugs more expensive?
Yeah. What do you think marijuana is going to end up being? They got this idea. Well, we're going to drive down the cost and the crimes in the state, because the police department said it's not going to drive down the crimes in the state, because the gangs are simply going to move into the state of California and take hold of communities and grow this stupid stuff. Because they'll know that they're going to ship this stuff out of the state. The state of California is then going to be the central point of shipping drugs out for the Mexican cartels across the United States. And I used to work on things way back in the 50s. I worked on these things with this, the young people in school, getting hooked on marijuana, and marijuana led to bigger drugs. That's right.
What's what they call it, an entry-level drug?
It's an entry-level drug. Well, it's a harmless entry-level drug. That's why, most people don't realize how many people have had their lives destroyed because of marijuana, how they've basically...
Why? Because it's addictive?
It's addictive and it's dangerous. I want to see who, last night you could not find anybody on television. They were debating the thing in 19 in California. No one that supports it would take responsibility for the first time a commercial pilot flies a plane in.
That's
because there is no test for being on marijuana. They
said,
well,
you mean like an alcohol
yeah,
test?
you don't have. They said, well, if you take a swab on the inside of the mouth, well, you can't take a swab on the inside of the mouth without basically a warrant for that sort of thing. That's invasive. You can ask a person if he's driving to take a breathalyzer test. But the swab,
because it's non-invasive.
It's non-invasive, but basically you enter the body, you then become in a nitpicking area, and that's the only way, because a person can be on marijuana and look like they're perfectly normal.
Well, for some people, it takes the edge off of them if they're really got a lot of anxiety.
Yeah, but basically a cigarette will do the same thing. And anybody, you don't understand. If it is dangerous to smoke a cigarette, it's dangerous to smoke marijuana because it's putting that stuff, same stuff that they say that's
Oh, the
bad.
secondhand smoke?
Secondhand smoke, they're approving, Proposition 19 approves of secondhand smoke.
Oh, which was the big problem about the cigarettes.
Yeah, the Proposition 19 makes secondhand
Oh,
smoke.
interesting.
It basically, the federal law is basically, they're basically killing secondhand smoke for cigarettes, but secondhand smoke with marijuana is going to be all right.
Well, actually, there's a double standard right
It
there.
is a double standard. It's a total, and and the whole excuse is, well, everybody does it. Well, everybody doesn't do it because we got a president that's an addict. We have other people that basically did it.
Well,
That it's all
I
right.
swear there's, okay, let's just say, there's people I knew that would say that they never took a test during college straight,
Yeah.
that they were always on marijuana. But, I just thought that's how they were all the time. Or maybe they were.
We're going to try this. My father was a motorcycle officer. They had some officers in his division, which was the Foothill Division, which everybody knows are mean-ass people, that were basically using marijuana all the time when they were on duty. Because they were stressed out because the Foothills is always a crappy place do you want to go. And we're talking 1930s and 40s, it was just as bad as it is today.
Really?
And yeah, officers were mean SOBs, they were unhappy with what they're doing, so they'd be smoking this stuff, and basically, an officer got off duty, he basically got high on his marijuana and just started emptying his gun in everything that he could find. And they basically said that he snapped under the strain. No, he was drugged out on marijuana, folks. He didn't snap under any strain of being an officer. He was so sedated, he didn't even know what he was doing.
Oh, man.
This is what happens. There is no test for a person, okay, everything is after the fact.
Well, I remember when I'd taken, not that I would admit that I was never in driving school for tickets, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But, they do have these things like for the comedy or improv driving school.
Yeah.
And one of the things I remember them telling you about is that if you're on marijuana, the way the police can tell if you're on marijuana, actually the symptoms are very similar to somebody that's very tired when they're driving.
Yeah.
Is they're really slow.
That's right, they're speaking slow. But that is not grounds for the arrest or citation of an individual. If they break no vehicle code laws, there is no specific test other than an invasive test to tell you're on marijuana. You can't take a breathalyzer, doesn't show. You can't take a smell test because it's, basically people do the same thing. The kids, when they don't want to know you're smoking, they sit there and spray stuff and it doesn't smell in the mouth. No, you can basically go, it doesn't smell.
See, and part of it is if it makes you slower. If you were somebody that was really fast before, or really, really hyper, yours being slower could be like everybody else's normal.
Yeah, and you can't let people drive in that condition. It's illegal to drive while you've been drinking. You can test people for driving and drinking. You can't test people for smoking marijuana and driving. There's a guy can fly, okay, no one wanted, I heard last night, will you accept, because you support this, will you accept responsibility for the first time a pilot that is on marijuana flies his plane into the ground because he's happy and thinks he's higher up than what he is?
Or would you like a surgeon to operate on you for open heart surgery?
Yeah, you want to?
With on marijuana.
Nobody, well, it's personal responsibility. People that shout personal responsibility are the ones that say that we shouldn't, the government should basically be in charge of everything, and there's no personal responsibility until they want to get something passed that they can't get passed, and they don't want to be held responsibility. They don't want to be held responsible for the accident. So then personal responsibility comes into effect. I've been around. I've been, like I said, on this cruddy earth for eight decades. That was a long time, and I have never seen people, wanting to get high as much as the people in California do at the moment. And people, the majority of the people in my state are over the age of 60. The majority are senior citizens. You know that they are not advocating people going out and being high. Because, they know what okay, I have to go to adult driving school to be able to get a driver's license.